Imagine a classroom, not with books, but with cold concrete walls and the ache of hunger. This was life for children in North Korea's Camp 14. One day, a guard teacher inspected the children, searching not for toys, but for food. A little girl was caught with 5 kernels of grain hidden in her pocket, her only hope against starvation. The teacher's rage was immediate. He dragged her to the front, forced her to hold out her hands, and beat her mercilessly. The other children watched, emotionless, knowing any sign of sympathy could mean their own death. The beating didn't stop until the girl collapsed, lifeless, over a handful of grain. Her body was dragged away, a chilling lesson for the rest. In Camp 14, food was forbidden contraband, and mercy was weakness. This was education in the camp, obedience through terror, survival through silence. Children learned that hunger was permanent, and life was worth less than a few grains of corn. The guards enforced this with violence, using starvation as their main tool of control. Inmates were not seen as people, but as laborers to be worked until death. The system was designed to erase humanity, turning children into tools of the state. Compassion was dangerous, trust was impossible. In Camp 14, a child's life could be ended for the smallest act of defiance. Every day the lesson was clear: absolute submission or death. This is the brutal reality that shaped every moment in North Korea's political prison camps. Deep in the mountains of South Pyongan, hidden from the world, lies Camp 14, a total control zone with no trials, no release, only endless labor. Spanning over 150 square kilometers, it's a fortress of mines, farms, factories, and barracks, surrounded by electrified fences and armed guards. Satellite images and survivor testimonies reveal a place akin to Nazi camps and Soviet gulags, designed for punishment and extermination through work. The regime denies its existence, but survivors describe a hell where life is worthless and suffering is constant. 15 to 20,000 people are trapped inside, many born there, erased from all records. The camp's purpose is not rehabilitation, but exploitation and elimination. Prisoners toil in deadly conditions, starved and brutalized until they die. Camp 14 is a machine built to grind people down, replenished by new victims as others perish. Why are people sent to Camp 14? Often they've committed no crime at all. North Korea's guilt by association policy means entire families, sometimes 3 generations, are imprisoned for the alleged crimes of one member. Kim Yong, once a privileged officer, was sent to the camp because his relatives were accused of spying decades earlier. The most famous survivor, Shin Dong-hyuk, was born in the camp, condemned for the supposed sins of relatives he never met. From birth, he knew only the camp's rules, never freedom or family love. The regime uses this system to keep its people in constant fear, punishing not just individuals, but their bloodlines. Even minor acts, listening to foreign radio, criticizing the leadership, can mean a life sentence for entire families. The definition of political crime is vague, allowing the state to eliminate anyone it chooses. For thousands, imprisonment begins not with an act, but with the accident of birth. For children born in Camp 14, family meant nothing. Hunger and fear ruled everything. Shin Dong-hyuk saw his mother and brother as rivals for food, not as loved ones. The camp pitted prisoners against each other, even within families, making survival a solitary struggle. Children were taught to inform on anyone, even their parents, in exchange for food or favor. Shin reported his own mother and brother for planning to escape, believing it was his duty. He watched as they were executed, feeling only disappointment that he wasn't rewarded. Grief was foreign. Emotional bonds were deliberately destroyed by the camp's system. Loyalty belonged to the guards, not to family. Compassion was weakness. Betrayal was survival. Children learned to steal, to ignore suffering, and to feel shame for their very existence. In Camp 14, the only relationships that mattered were between the punisher and the punished. Life in Camp 14 was endless labor and constant hunger. Days began before sunrise with a thin corn porridge, barely enough to survive the grueling work ahead. Prisoners toiled in mines, fields, and factories for up to 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. Food was the main tool of control. Rations were always just short of starvation. Fail to meet quotas, and your rations shrink further, guaranteeing a slow death. Desperate, inmates hunted rats, snakes, and insects for extra food, risking execution if caught. Living conditions were squalid: crowded barracks, no furniture, little water, rampant disease. Medical care was non-existent. The sick were left to die. Every day was a fight to survive, reduced to work, hunger, and fear. In Camp 14, existence was stripped to its most brutal core. Camp 14's rules, the 10 Commandments, were designed to enforce obedience through terror. The first rule: any escape attempt means immediate execution. Failing to report a rule violation, death. Every prisoner became a potential informant, destroying trust and solidarity. Stealing or hiding food was punishable by death, as seen in the execution of the schoolgirl. Other rules banned gatherings, relationships, and any disrespect to guards. Each infraction met with lethal force. Guards could kill for the slightest reason, with no oversight. Public executions were mandatory, forcing inmates to watch and even participate. These rituals made everyone complicit in the violence. The rules weren't just prohibitions, they were a blueprint for a society built on fear. In Camp 14, death was the penalty for almost any deviation. Escape from Camp 14 was nearly impossible, a fortress designed to crush hope. The electrified fence, over 10 feet high, killed instantly. The ground around it was littered with bodies. Guard towers, patrols, and shoot-to-kill orders made the perimeter a death zone. Beyond the fence lay mountains and wilderness. No food, no help, no knowledge of the outside world. For those born in the camp, the world beyond was unimaginable and terrifying. Inmates were taught from birth that escape was the ultimate sin, punishable by torture and death. Public executions for failed attempts reinforced the sense of hopelessness. The fence was more than a barrier, it was a symbol of permanent condemnation. In Camp 14, despair was the only certainty. Despite the odds, a few prisoners risked everything to escape. Most died on the fence or under torture, but some, like Shin Dong-hyuk, made it out. After a failed attempt and brutal torture, Shin tried again in 2005, with an older prisoner named Park. Their plan was desperate. Park climbed the fence first, was electrocuted, and Shin scrambled over his body, suffering burns but surviving. Shin escaped into the wilderness, eventually reaching China, and then South Korea. His freedom was bought with another man's life. Kim Yong, another survivor, escaped by hiding in a coal train, slipping past guards by sheer luck. These stories are rare. Most attempts end in death or torture. For every escapee, countless others perished, their dreams of freedom extinguished. The few who survived became witnesses to the world outside. Their stories reveal the unimaginable cruelty of the camps. They are living proof that even in the darkest places, the will to be free endures. But, for most, escape was only a dream. As of November 2025, North Korea's gulags still operate, their fences reinforced, their secrets buried deeper. Satellite images confirm at least 4 major camps remain active, including the notorious Camp 16. The regime is not closing these camps, it's making them more secure and more deadly. Survivor stories like Shin Dong-hyuk's and Kim Yong's are rare windows into this hidden world. Even as some details are disputed, the core truths, torture, executions, starvation, are undeniable. These testimonies force us to confront a reality the regime wants to erase. Knowing about these camps is a moral imperative. To ignore them is to be complicit in the suffering of tens of thousands. The existence of these camps is an assault on human dignity, a modern echo of the worst atrocities in history. The world must pressure North Korea, demand transparency, and advocate for the rights of its people. We must remember, because those inside cannot speak. By sharing their stories, we keep hope alive and honor those who have perished. The world must bear witness, until the fences fall and the darkness lifts.